Hi, it's me JD and welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be making some fun rainbow Christmas cards. So sit back, subscribe, and we'll jump right into the first handmade holiday card. For this first DIY Christmas cards, we're going to go back to one of my oldie but goodies techniques of ink blending. I have this awesome stencil from Simon Says Stamp. This is called the Winter Floral stamp, if you're curious. Next, I'm going to be using some temporary tape to hold down my stencil to my card front. This will keep my stencil from shifting while I blend some inks on there. I'll be using my Distress Ink minis. I've had these forever and I haven't used them in a while, so I thought this would be the perfect time to do so since I'm going to be using a lot of different colors for this background. Now for me, what does ink blending and meals have in common? Well, I can never keep the right portion size. For this background, I originally wanted to keep all the colors a nice, even portion of the background. Unfortunately, while I was ink blending, it didn't quite turn out that way. So my apologies to Wilted Violet. I'll get you in the next one. And now it's time for the peel reveal. And it came out fabulous. Not surprising, this is a fabulous stencil. I'm going to set this background aside while I work on the next card. Since I have all of my distress inks out, my ink blending tools out, my craft mat out, I figured it'd be a great time to just go with it and do ink blending for the next card. I've got this fun, joyful die from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to tack that down temporarily and run that through my die cutting machine. It comes with a solid black piece and then like a word die cut frame piece. For now, I'm just using it to cut out a solid block piece. And I have 6 of them because that's all I could fit on an A2 size piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to go with it and see what I come up with. I first start by inking some yellow on here, thinking I'll just ink the entire piece, this mustardy color. But then I thought, what if we did a nice ombre color with wild honey or spiced marigold color? It's one of those colors. Anyway, so I'm doing a nice gradient of color. I'm bringing out some new blending tools, and if you have been following the channel a long time, you might see some new tools and crafty items in this video. Keep an eye out for a future video in which I give my truthful review of some of these products. But back to the ink blending for now. I'm going in with different colors, in rainbow colors, obvi, and just trying out different combinations to see what I like, what I didn't like. I also just wanted a chance to play with these inks and these tools. I haven't done a video using Distress Ink minis for a long time, but that was basically all I did when I first started card making, is I would make short little Instagram videos of ink blending. And now that I've done it, it was so much fun. It was just so therapeutic and didn't take long at all, especially with the ink blending tool and the ink blending brush. My fingers were definitely a mess out of this, but my craft mat cleaned up nice and easily, and now it's time to put this card together. So I cut out the word die and thinking, oh, maybe I'll use the blocks as the background, but I was like, there's 6 letters and I have 6 blocks that I ended up liking, so what if we just use the letters only instead of running that die cut or running that die 6 times? That's a great option too if you did want to use the main part or the positive part of the die 6 times. It would make for a fun card, but I didn't want anything to distract from all of this beautiful color, so I just ended up using the letters. To avoid any excess glue oozing out of the sides, I just squeezed some liquid glue onto scrap paper, smooshed my letter on there to get rid of any excess glue, and then stuck it onto my background. And for the individual blocks, I'm going to pop them up with some foam squares. I thought popping this up would be some nice dimension and add a little bit of a shadow behind these colored blocks, making them stand out even more. And now I'm going to add some glue to the back of these foam squares after I peeled off the backing, of course. I learned this from Miss Jennifer McGuire, and this way it'll give me some wiggle room as I'm moving around and sticking this color block with foam squares on the back. For the top and bottom rows, I started by centering the middle block first and then working on the left and right sides just to make sure everything was centered, because with this kind of card it's pretty obvious if things are off center or crooked or something. But then again, these are handmade, not Hallmark. Like the other card, I'm going to set this aside to dry while I work on the next card. For this next card, we'll be doing some good old-fashioned stamping. I've got a Christmas tree stamp, or I should say that it's like an abstract Christmas tree. I know it looks like a triangle, but I swear the rest of it comes with like Christmas trees and Christmas sentiments. Anyway, I'm using my MISTI to stamp this down and some Copic-friendly black ink. We'll be doing rows of Christmas trees, so I'm just stamping the final Christmas tree on the first row, and then I'll move on to the second row where I stamp 3 Christmas trees as well. And once that is all done, I'm gonna bust out some Copics in rainbow colors and color very carefully inside the lines. I'm going to color these trees in rainbow order, of course, and I love that I didn't use a conventional rainbow color, you know, the Roy G. Biv. I went with hot pink and turquoise and this bright like chartreusey limey green, and I think that is a really fun rainbow color combination. Next, once the coloring is done, I'm going to get out some Nuvo drops, and these are glitter Nuvo drops. So they have a little hint of glitter in them, but they're still clear, dries clear. And these are just going to be little glittery icing on top blingy decorations to my simple Christmas trees. I'll set that aside to dry while I work on the sentiments for all these cards. Lately, for my card making, I've been doing batch card making, so I'll make all the backgrounds at once, and then I'll make all the sentiments at once. I'll do all the heat embossing at once. I'll do all the ink blending at once, as you just saw, and I feel like that really saves me time. You know, I'm not going back and forth between supplies. I'm also not going back and forth to clean everything up like 3-4 times. So this batching system really is working for me so far. Alright, I'm doing some heat embossing. As you can see here, I got all of my sentiments for my card lined up. I stamped it on some black cardstock with Versamark ink. Now I'm dusting on some fine white embossing powder and just flicking off any excess with a paintbrush. Now I close my embossing powder storage because I'm bringing out the heat gun, and you do not want that box open when you bring out the heat gun. I'll heat this down till all of that powder is melted, and then I'm going to take out my paper trimmer and trim off all of these sentiments. Now, from experience, I find it is always better to cut these sentiments down with a paper trimmer instead of your scissors, because it'll always end up crooked if you use your scissors. Anyway, it ends up crooked for me. So now I'm going to go back to that Christmas tree card since the Nuvo drops have dried. I'm going to add little stars on top of each Christmas tree because I realized they just look like a bunch of triangles and not actually a Christmas tree. So I think the star will add some context clues to my holiday card. Alrighty, now it's time to add sentiments on all of these Christmas cards. I've got my sentiment strips as well as some foam tape set aside, and I'm going to peel off the backing and place this on to my card very carefully. But then I realized, hey, why don't I just use that glue trick that I did earlier to help things get in position. For my Christmas tree card, I realized that my sentiment was a little too big. It was blocking some of the Christmas trees, so I decided to trim it down to just these sub-sentiments. I'll put some foam tape on the back of that and pop that right on there on the side so it doesn't block a majority of the trees like the other sentiment would have done. And then finally, I'm going to put my big sentiment on top of this winter Floral Stencil card, but I'm definitely using the glue for this card because I really wanted this centered. I was unsure of where to place this sentiment. Should I place it in the middle, the top? And then I realized that since I kind of ignored Wilted Violet, I'm going to hide Wilted Violet completely and put it right over the top of it. That does it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these rainbow themed holiday cards, and I'll catch you in the next video.